Hi and welcome back to Quinwapa Creations tutorial videos. Today we're going to do an UFO, which is an unfinished object challenge that we did on our beading circle Facebook group. There's a piece that I had started with a quill work flower design 5 years ago. So I have the cowhide thick leather that I used, and I used my Nymo 0 beading thread, size 13 long beading needles. I didn't have the same beads, so I used some size 11 delicas, and of course my quills. The piece had been done with one side the quill work and one side a card holder with a loop to fasten it together, and that was it. And I didn't have anything on the other side, so I started with the square stitch down the spine with the geometric design, and I took it apart and going to work a geometric design on the other side with some quills. Marked the middle spot and sorted out some quills. The design I'm going to use takes 9 quills, so just sort out and find the quills that are about the same thickness. Once I have those quills, we're going to trim them down and get them ready. I use a piece of styrofoam to trim them. You want the barbed end to be trimmed off, but you don't want it to fly around the room. So just place that barbed end into the styrofoam and trim it off. That way it's stuck into the styrofoam and you don't have to worry about it. Anybody stepping on it or losing it. Once it's trimmed off, I take the 13 needle, which is going to be long enough and thin enough to fit through the size of the quill when I cut it down. So start in the middle of the design where I marked the middle at. I have a faint pencil mark, straight line to show where to put the design. Put the beads on, and I take the quill and trim it down to the size I want. Usually about an inch in length for this design that I do. And then put the needle through the middle of the quill, and that marrow inside will just allow the needle to pass through. Real gentle so you don't damage the quill. And I just hold it firmly and use my needle nose pliers to gently pull it. And then basically it's used just like a bead. Put the rest of the row on above the beads. Pack it down where it needs to go, along that faint pencil line. That pencil line's going to fade. You won't see it later. And you tack that down and then basically use the 2 needle method to sew the beads down along that line. When you get to the quill, you're going to treat it just like if it was just a big long bead, tacking down on both ends the same way you would tack down the beads. So you want to make sure your thread is going through and all the way down through to tack it down on both ends. And then you'll just continue on to the end of that row, tacking down every 2 beads and finishing it off. And be sure you're following that pencil line. Make sure you get it as straight as possible. And the second line, the next quill, I just measured it up to the first one. Cut it off. And the same thing, making sure that I'm putting in the direction that I want it to be, to have the dark part of the quill in the same direction. And again, you hold it firm and use it needle nose pliers to pull it through. And lay it in. Get it even and then tack it down, treating the quill like a bead. Being sure to tack down on each end of the quill. And then push it, make sure it's going down over the beading thread and not pulling the quill down. And again, just going to measure up that quill and snip it off. Push that needle right up through the middle. And hold it gently but firmly. And take that and push it up so you get enough needles sticking out the other end. Grab it with your needle nose pliers and pull it through. And then you can put on the rest of your beads. And then once you get the one side finished, I do a quarter of it at a time. Finish all 4 quarters. I sewed on an abalone button to use on with my leather loop. And then I put the edging on around. I sewed it all together, but I lost a piece of video to show that, how I sewed it all together. I have a liner on there and did a saddle stitch of the leather, so I just do a quick demonstration of how that works. I have a tool that I mark the holes so they're all the same width, and I just poke a hole through with my awl. That way all the stitches are as uniform as I can get them. I am not a leather worker, but we're going to use some imitation sinew and 2 tapestry needles. And cut the sinew the length that will go all the way around the area you're covering, and then double it. And you'll put a needle on each end of the sinew so that you're able to go back and forth with both needles. And if you're putting layers, you just have all the layers with the holes marked the same width, and you're going to go through and have the thread in the middle starting, and then you're just going to go the saddle stitches going one way with the one needle, and then coming back through that same hole in the opposite direction with the other needle. And you're just going to continue stitching that way, going through. Make the hole bigger with the awl if you need to, I guess. Doesn't always work the first time. So you're going to go through with one needle in one direction, back through the opposite direction with the other needle. And that's basically your what's called a saddle stitch. That's the stitch they use to sew saddles together. Go through one way with one needle and opposite direction with the other needle. And I just have to find a spot where it's not visible, where you're going to end the lacing. Just gonna go back through and make sure that both ends of the sinew are on the same side. And it's waxed thread, so you just snip off both ends and take a lighter and melt it down and rub it so that it adheres to the leather, no knots or anything. And that's your saddle stitch to attach all the leather pieces together all the way around. So I have a card slot piece attached on one side and a money slot side on the other, and my leather loop just fits right over that abalone button. And that is my quillwork handcrafted leather wallet. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was an unfinished object challenge we had on our Facebook group, Beading Circle. So if you want to stop by and join, that's fine, or see my website at www.quinoapawcreations.com. See you next time. Bye.